Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Desks and Dorks, your favorite board game design and creation podcast. I'm Kyle Ott, and this is It's Time to Stop, a brand new series where I talk about some of my least favorite things in RPGs, and I offer some solutions to them. I hate when people complain about stuff and they don't offer a solution or don't explain why they don't like a certain thing. And so, if I'm going to complain and moan and whine about the state of something in an RPG, I'm going to offer you some suggestions that I, as a humble RPG designer, have to fix this problem. If you would like to support me in my endeavors of being a smartass on the internet, you can do so by going to the link in the description below. And in fact, if you do that, do you know what you get? You can buy yourself a copy of Red Panda Redemption. It's a $1, one-page RPG about red panda cowboys. And if you don't like it, then you can't even get a McChicken anymore for that price. I don't know what you want from me. I guess you can get a crisp high five from me if you ever see me in person. But let's talk a little bit about what I hate, because I hate this garbage and I want to fix it. The first thing I want to talk about in this series is I hate the trope of everyone meeting in a tavern. It's awful. It's really awful. It's been done to death. I can see why people do it. There is a built-in connection between the fantasy world and the real one when you meet in a tavern, right? Everyone has been to a tavern or a bar or a restaurant that serves alcohol, or at the very least, you've been to a Chili's or like a Dave and Buster's, right? That's basically what a tavern in, the Dungeons and Dragons setting is. It is a safe, simple, catch-all meeting place that has some connections to the real world. You don't have to explain to people what a tavern is, but because it is so ubiquitous and so useful, it's been done like about 10 trillion times now, and I hate it. It takes like 4 hours. Your party members always ask, oh, who's in that corner? What do they look like? What's their name? What's their life story? Oh, that's Boblin the Goblin. I would love to talk to Boblin the Goblin for 9 hours. And you're like, dude, the adventure is that way, guys. Like, I read The Hobbit as a kid, and I always hated that I was like 46 pages in, and I'm like, the adventure is that way. There's giant spiders and a dragon in those mountains, and Bilbo is like taking orders for the dwarves and like feeding them eggs. That is the tavern session to me, right? It has been done to death and it takes forever. So here are a couple ways that you can allow your party members to meet up. Let's say it's your first adventure, the first part of a brand new campaign or a one-shot. Let's talk about some of my favorite ways that you can make meeting up in your fantasy setting much more interesting. This is my all-time favorite one. This is called The Funeral of a Friend. So why do I like this? Why? Tons of opportunity for roleplay. It gives the players a unifying purpose, and it lets you flesh out your world and their world. And yes, I used the wrong there. I don't care. What are you, the grammar police? And ignore that bottom line. I actually fleshed that out in the later slide. Don't worry about it. The reason I like this is because it encourages people to roleplay. Death and loss are a common part, unfortunately, of our everyday life. And this doesn't have to be an overwhelmingly somber experience, but it does give the players a unifying purpose to be there, right? The tavern is a unifying purpose in that it is a public space that is really well understood. But the funeral gives us a unifying purpose in that all of the party members know one another, at least through the lens of, I know the person that has passed on. Here's what I love to do. Have each player write down a reason that they are at the funeral. It could be something like the deceased owed them money, they were their illegitimate child, they were old co-workers, and have them write down a feeling that dominates their emotions for this first setting. For the deceased who owed them money, maybe it's regret. Maybe they're like, man, I spent my whole life trying to chase this guy for 20 gold pieces, and now that he's gone, I realize that I botched the friendship that I could have had with them over something simple. Or if it's their illegitimate child, maybe they're angry, right? Maybe they're like, I'm enraged because my father, my mother, my whoever, this figure is, has essentially denied me the familial life and familial connection that I desperately wanted, and now they're gone. I can't get that back, right? This does two things for the party. One, it gives them a hook for role playing, right? Why are you here? Well, the deceased owed me money, we used to work together at the Thieves Guild. I vouched for him, and I don't know, gave him like 6 bags of gold or whatever when a heist went bad, right? It gives you a hook. It lets you flesh out your character and the world that surrounds your character. And having a feeling that dominates your emotions for a first setting means that you can focus on that emotion better during roleplay. This is great for first-time roleplayers because instead of thinking, what motivates my character? What does my character want to do? Or for people who aren't used to your group, maybe you have a new player that has just joined you and they're not sure what the vibe is. This is great because now they're like, no, anger is my primary driver. And they can, flesh out their character based on that seed that you've given them or that they have given you as a DM. But that's super helpful. I love this one. And it's one that usually leads to some really organic connections for players and for party members, and I really like it. I would highly encourage you to do this. One word of caution, though, and I'm assuming that all of you run your games with safety tools. Please make sure that nobody is experiencing some sort of catastrophic loss in their life before you run this. Just double check with your players. Be like, yo, guys, I think maybe our first session is going to be at a funeral. Is that cool with everybody? Just check in with that. You never know where people are at in their real life journey, and you want to be cognizant of that. So please do that. That's a useful thing. It saved me from doing this when someone's grandfather had died 2 days before the session. So trust me when I say it's a useful thing. All right, what else? The Prison Break. I love the Prison Break, not just the show, but I really like Prison Breaking as a way to have your players meet up. Why? Because it unites the characters in common purpose, right? We don't have to worry about what our motivations are or where we're going to go. We have a clear motivation. We are either breaking into or breaking out of a prison. That is our common unifying goal. And on top of that, it means that the players can't really get bogged down in some of the nuances that can bog down a session, right? Your players are not going to be necessarily worried about everyone's internal motivations and internal drivers when they're like, we got 2 hours to get out of this thing before we get guillotined by a bunch of, orcs or the corrupt city watch, whatever. Right? It also lets each of your players try something that they're really good at. So, for example, thieves and rangers have multiple opportunities to sneak, pick locks, look for traps. You can fight guards or fight other prisoners. There's a ton of really great ways to use or to creatively use spells. And there's tons of opportunities for persuasion in a prison setting, right? Whether you are bribing a guard to look the other way while you go do something, or you are talking and discussing with the prison fence to get access to goods that you shouldn't have, or maybe you're trying to make allies with the biggest, scariest inmate there. There's tons of opportunities, and it provides a great hook for future adventures. You can delve in with future sessions. Why were the party members assigned to break into a prison? Perhaps their wealthy patron who actually bankrolled this little expedition has more on their mind, and maybe it's less than, shall we say, just motivations for continuing to hire the party. Or if the party members broke out of prison, there are probably forces on their way that are looking to apprehend your players. That's an important thing, and it gives you great natural organic hooks for future adventures. It's why I love starting with a Prison Break. I've done this one multiple times, and it has always gone over really, really well. And again, it really helps to create this breeding ground for creativity and out-of-the-box thinking that is really all that Dungeons & Dragons is about. And then last but certainly not least, let's talk to Drawn to the Carnival. Why would you want to do a fantasy carnival? It's really simple. It is a great playground for just the most degenerate random nonsense. You could have magic clowns, funnel cake that gives you super strength, haunted attractions, rat men running a dunk tank. I came up with all of those 1 minute before this recording. I was like, I'm going to actually test my own theory here because I've done the haunted carnival or the fantasy carnival a bunch of times. I'm like, what are some things I haven't tried yet? And I just timed myself. It was 30 seconds to get all of that down. There is a great suspension of disbelief when you set the players into a carnival, right? It is a time of revelry. It is a time of hidden identities. It's also a time of whimsy and mischief and magic, and that means that you can get away with a lot of random garbage you wouldn't normally be able to get away with. And your players are probably going to suspend their disbelief, or whatever the suspension of disbelief is in a fantasy game where we all sit down and hallucinate staring at a piece of paper and rolling click-clack math rocks. But your players are naturally going to accept the fact that the funnel cake gives them the ability to, suplex a gargoyle into the dirt because it's a magic carnival, right? Of course that's what it does. This is a great one if you're planning on running a one-shot or a temporary game. And again, much like our Prison Break, there are tons of ways that you can extend out the hooks for this one. For example, I started a campaign with a fantasy carnival, and my players wound up actually making good with the guy who ran the Hall of Oddities. It was the freak show version of this particular carnival, and they wound up helping to pursue monsters that he was looking to capture for his attractions, and that wound up being an amazing time for them because it let them interact with beasts and creatures and monsters and other planar entities from the Monsters Manual that we never would have gotten a chance to do because they're like, oh yeah, of course there's a flame method bard who specializes in magic flame donut belly dancing. Yeah, that's exactly what our guy would like us to recruit for his show. I'm sure that's totally normal, right? I love the Dark Carnival or the Fantasy Carnival. I think you will as well. So before we close off for today, we talked about, of course, Drawn to the Carnival. We talked about running a prison break and my all-time favorite, The Funeral of a Friend. I actually think all three of these are a much better way to introduce a group of players to your campaign and to your campaign world. Way, 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 way better than having them all meet in some dumb and dusty tavern. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. I tried to pack in as much as I could in under 10 minutes. And yeah, give us a like, share, a comment, subscribe. It really does help us out a ton. I hope you have enjoyed It's Time to Stop. We will be doing this one again. And yeah, if you would like to support us again financially, the best way to do it, spend $1. Get yourself a copy of Red Panda Redemption. It's down in the description below. We really would appreciate it. And if you are one of those high rollers that would like a physical edition of any of our games, you can do so over at World of Game Design. Until next time, though, I am Kyle Ott for Desks and Dorks. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.